Alrighty, so I was looking at the buffs and stuff in the latest release, and I saw that Wargaming have buffed the Churchill, but unfortunately it's the premium Churchill, not the Tetri one. So I ran it through Tank Compare, and in all respects the newly buffed Churchill is exactly the same as the Tetri version which I'm showing here. However, it does have obviously the armour buffs, and I started thinking about it, and I thought, right, I'll just get out the Tetri Churchill at tier 6 and play it, because I've got good memories of the tank. Played it 136 games, 60% win rate. So I thought, right, and I've always been able to sort of play this Tetri, so I thought, okay, right, I'll take it out, see if it's still a valid tank. So this is not the premium buff Churchill, this is just the Tetri version. I'm not going to buy the premium, and the reason for that is I think the Tetri Churchill is absolutely fine. It's every bit as good as I remember it being, and frankly, I mean, if they'd buffed this, it would have been borderline OP. As it is, it's still a very, very, very strong tank. So overall, I won't worry too much about what they have or haven't done to the premium version. If you've not driven this in a while or have never driven it, get yourself to tier 6, get yourself one of these and have some fun. So in terms of the do's and don'ts with the tank, first thing to note is I genuinely tend to play at heavy route. I always go with the team, not because there's particular problems with it being Circle of Death or out traversed by things. It actually traverses very well, but more to do with the fact that if you go the wrong way at the beginning of the game, you can't help the team. It'll take the whole game just to sort of reposition on the map, by which point they'll all be dead, as they tend to be. So that's the first point to note. The situational awareness or tactical awareness is very, very important. Put the tank on a flank where it can hold, where it can do effective damage, and where it can absorb damage for the team. It's doing no good on its own, sat there camping or just trundling around because it's gone the wrong way at the start of the game. So that's point one. Point two is the armour on this tank is extremely good, but, and here's the but for you, it needs to be angled correctly. And when I say correctly, I mean the front end of the tank needs to point at all times at the enemy. Not the side, not the back. When you're going past fire corridors on maps, it's so slow and long, you've really got to be very, very careful. You can lose nearly all your hit points if you get slammed in the side. But at this angle, with the gun just over the front drive wheel, it's rock hard. Now look, I'm going to get one off the issue when I'm quite there. I knew I would. I wanted him done. I'm going to turn towards the Stug next, because I'm not worried about the KV-220 from the front particularly. As you can see, he's gone, and now I'm going to have a look at the KV-220, which is, you know, yet another rock hard premium tank. There's a shout out to Tetri tanks. You can be equally effective in them. Look at the angle I've now got on this Churchill. That's exactly what you want. This KV-220 is not going to get another shot through, and I'm going to clear him no problem at all. KV-220T is currently one of the highest win rate, most played tanks in the game, and obviously there's a reason for that. It's rock hard, and they buffed the gun for no apparent reason. But I mean, why not get in something like the Tetri Churchill at tier 6? Why go and buy that buff premium when this tank is perfectly good? There's some myths also about this tank which I think kind of need to be dispelled, I guess. So I'm going to show you this game. It's two reasons. One is it's a top tier game. The second reason is I take the tank a long way out of its comfort zone. So the comfort zone for the tank is clearly going to be hold down positions, places where you can side scrape it, places where there's hard cover, places where you can hide the lower plate. I mean, that's clearly where it's going to be, and that's where you need to put the tank situationally. And that's exactly what I'm going to do here. But this game's really funny. I mean, wait for it. There's a disturbance, there's a tree. A tiger. I am driving a tiger tank. I am invincible. No. Just no. Yeah, so he shot me twice and I've bounced the whole lot, and that's because I've angled my tank correctly. So like I said, gone just over the front drive wheel at a slight angle. If you exactly head on to something, what they'll do is shoot you through the top plate, and the armour on the top plate's exactly flat. So you've got to angle it. In fact, you've got to not show it. So imagine like a German heavy, and you never show the bottom plate or the bit between the legs. On this, it's like don't show the bottom plate, but at the same time also do not flatten out the top plate, because things will go straight in. So you've got to be just on that perfect angle, and if you're on that perfect angle, you're going to bounce an absolute heap in this tank. It's absolutely rock hard. Anyhow, to the point at the beginning of this particular replay, where you don't want to put a Churchill is out in these dunes. Now look, don't get me wrong, there are places you can hold down, there's little ridges and burrs and stuff that you can get the job done, but overall you don't want to be traversing across open ground into a big load of sand dunes, which is ram-packed full of lights and mediums. It's imprudent, let me put it that way. For all of that, the T-34-1 has decided to push and is doing a reasonable job. So, and I can see there's a 3-on-1 here, well, shortly to be 2-on-2. I've got the perfect angle there. You can only see my turret. So the WZ, not much you can do. He's changed up to Pramo to get through me, and that's fair enough, I could take it. And then because I'm doing a review of the tank, I started going, okay, well I'm here now, let's just see what it will do chasing down mediums. I say chasing down in a sort of wacky races, Benny Hill kind of chase kind of way, because it's not very quick. But you can see it will kind of move, not too bad. The accuracy on the gun's pretty good. The gun depression's not amazing. You've got to wait for it to drop. But you can see I'm giving this guy a decent flogging. But we'll be going around this hill together for hours if I don't just drop over the top. And at the point I'm about to drop over the top, you'll see, you know, it's obvious that he's going to penetrate my bottom plate as I come over. I'm going to have to take that. And then from here it's just a slogfest. But what I like about it is you can see DPM on the tank, which is absolutely fine. Decent amount of damage comes out of it. Reloads nice and quick. I can't keep my angles on this guy, so I'm going to get penned. But you can see he's got no hope, and he cannot get round me. There's no way he's getting round. So you can do that in the tank. If you get put in a situation whereby you do get Circle of Death, it will hold its own. It will traverse surprisingly well. And a lot of people come unstuck with that. They think, oh, Churchill, dead slow. Right, yeah, I'll just get at that and I'll just Circle of Death it and go around it, and it will not be long for this world. And what they discover is a high DPM tank, which actually traverses pretty well. Turret turns nicely, and they're suddenly in a hit point trade that they don't want to be in. So those sorts of situations, you can look after yourself pretty well, but I just suggest not to get in them if you can help it. So as usually, if you look at the beginning of the game, I'm waiting to see where my team are going, and I put this game on because it's kind of a textbook Churchill game. Not one of those games where like everything goes right and da 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 da. In fact, the next game I'll show everything does not go right and I'm going to get deleted. show it because this is how you should be playing the tank. So the most dangerous tank on this battlefield is the P43 at the moment. Why? Because he's on my right hand side and he can put effective fire down into the side of my tank. So I don't want him there, and for that reason I'm not going to push yet. The enemy tanks in front of me I'm not worried about at all, because I'm basically hanging off this burr, so I'm not going to get anything through the bottom plate, and anything that's going to pen me is going to be a really hard pen through the turret. They're really going to have to aim at that, so I'm not worried. P43, if you'll note, has receded. There's a KV2 on my left that I need to be aware of, because that will be somewhat painful and annoying if it goes through the side. So I'm not going to push just yet, but what I am going to do is keep this guys covered up and basically take my time. And I'm going to slowly trundle forward here because I know the KV2's distracted, and then I'm going to start pumping the Nashorn if he hadn't already been shot, the Sherman if he hadn't already been shot, and actually, all joking apart, the VK, one into him, then immediately angle up because the SU's looking at me. Yep, bouncy bounce bounce. Again, the angles were tight. Just think about your angles in the tank. Keep it as you should have it, and you'll be absolutely fine. Face it forward, use the DPM. There you go, SU's gone, and then I can trundle round and bang, VK goes. So there you go, 1.8k, 960 bounce, just really steady game, and that's the way I think you should be playing the tank. You should be getting lots of Confederates and all that good stuff, because you should be taking damage and giving damage out for the team. Now finally, just speeded up the game on Canyon because I want to show you the other side of the tank, and while you will lose some games, and there'll be nothing you can do about it. It's not, I wouldn't say it was outside of being top tier. You know, I've got a load of tier 5s, yeah, you're probably carrying it, but you're playing tier 6, 7 games. It's not like a carry tank or anything, but it can do a job for the team. Now this is not an ideal situation for the tank, and you can see why. There's an absolute plague of medium tanks in this game. So not only am I bottom tier, which is fair enough, I'm also on a map which I think doesn't tend to suit the Churchill. It's not really its thing. There's a lot of hills and ridges and places mediums can hide and get around you, and gun depression is not exceptionally great on the tank, so you can't sit on ridges and fire down. You can't really YOLO up the middle of the map, because by the time you get anywhere near to it, then all the enemy mediums and lights will be up above you, just pummeling crap into you. So the middle of the map's not a great place. So I've gone this side, and I hate playing this side, by the way, but sometimes needs must. And obviously I came down to help the Strav. I did suspect that he would die, but the actual real reason was I thought that I could hold up 3 mediums on this flank if I can hold this corner, which would give us theoretically a numerical, how did that miss, superiority on the left. And the Sentinel comes up here. It's a really obvious move from him, so I mean, yeah, I mean that's going to happen. So now I know I've got a VKD, and I know I've got a nameless minimum down there on my right. I missed the T71 again. That is like, oh my god, where did the first shot go? I still don't know. Anyhow, and there's the nameless in the VK, and you know, I can kind of hold him here quite effectively. I'm obviously going to have difficulty penning the top of the nameless even with APCR loaded. I wanted the VKD. I still want the VKD. I know the nameless is going to push me, but I really wanted him to poke there so I could get him out of the game. That's quite clearly not going to happen. And now we're not in a good situation, and the nameless is going to push me. I can, however, hit his bottom plate, and then it has the same engine and drive shaft as all German tanks. So if you're aiming for that bottom left corner, you will give that kiddie some engine fast. Also, if you can fire above the tracks into the side, he's slightly over angled on the side scrape there, but you can pen him that way as well. And this Nameless is playing well. I did say well played after the game. He's doing all the right things. He's holding me up. There's not too much you can do. I bounce the VK. I'm angling to as many targets as I can. Look how tough the tank is there. There you go. Front left. He's on fire. Another one in him. Excellent. But you know, I'm not gonna win this. Sometimes you just, what can you do? You can't win them all, can you? But you can see at the end how tough the tank is. So I really wouldn't bother buying the premium if it comes on sale. Just drive the Tetri one. It's absolutely fine. It's rock hard already. Go revisit it. It's a great tank. Anyway, see ya. Bye.